If you're buying a home in the Ventura area, these are the things that you need to look out for. Now, I'm a seasoned agent, so whenever I'm looking at homes for myself as investments or with my buyer clients, there is a list of items that I'm going to check for every single time. And don't worry, you don't have to write this list down. If you want a PDF copy of it, simply send me an email and I'll get it over to you ASAP. Let's get into it. Starting with the neighborhood. If you're looking at a home, but you're not familiar with that specific street or that pocket of town, or maybe you're even looking at homes in a neighboring city that you're not overly familiar with, I recommend showing up to your appointment to see the home a little bit early and use that time to drive the neighborhood. This will give you a good sense of what investments are being made on the street. Is the street trending in the right direction? Meaning that neighbors are investing in their properties. They're fixing up their homes. They're adding solar panels. Their landscaping is well cared for. Do they display pride of ownership? The last thing that you want to do is to buy a home in a neighborhood that is headed downhill. Obvious signs that a neighborhood is headed in the wrong direction, overgrown landscaping in the front yard, abandoned vehicles or motorhomes on the street, boarded up windows or boarded up homes. These are all signs that, hey, things are probably not going in the right direction. As you're driving around, don't be afraid to pull over and talk to any neighbors that you might see. Ask them how they like living there. There are several questions that I, as a licensed real estate agent, and I'm subject to fair housing laws, that I simply cannot answer. But a random neighbor on the street, not only can they answer those questions, they are more than likely eager and willing to spill the tea. Keep in mind the three most important things in real estate are location, location, location. So use your best judgment, do a little bit of detective work, spend the extra time to determine if that neighborhood, if that street is trending in the right direction. If you're touring homes, make a habit out of looking up at the ceilings. Ceilings can tell you a lot about potential problems or issues occurring within the home. Could be dark stains, which would indicate a roof leak. If it's a two-story home and you're on the first floor looking up and you see a dark stain, that could indicate that the shower or tub that is directly above is having a leaking issue. If you see long horizontal cracks, it could be earthquake damage, or it could simply be settling. Now, if you do see those cracks, I would suggest immediately go over to the nearest door. If opening and closing that door, it begins to rub on the door jamb, that would be further evidence of some settling going on in the home. Look for inconsistent texture on the ceiling as well. So for example, if one portion of the ceiling has popcorn and the other has an orange peel finish, I would want to ask the seller, what's going on here? Why did that occur? It may be because a leak occurred and it damaged some of the popcorn finish, and because nobody's using popcorn anymore, they went ahead and just refinished it with orange peel. And look, it could also just be simply that the home seller installed can lights or speakers, surround sound speakers on the ceiling, and that's why the finish is different, the texture is different. But the bottom line is, make sure you make a habit out of looking up as you're touring homes. Final note here, if you are in a home and it does have popcorn ceilings, just be aware that it may have asbestos in it. The way that you find out is by testing it. Now, if it does have asbestos in it, just be prepared. It's going to cost more money than normal to have that asbestos popcorn removed. You really want to work with a professional in this case to have it removed, because it does pose a serious health risk. Keep an eye on the windows. The reason why I bring this up is because windows get very, very expensive. If you have several that are broken or don't seal properly, or maybe they have a hard time opening and closing, or maybe they're even just original single pane and those do a terrible job of insulating your home, by the way, just be prepared for the added cost. As you're touring homes, keep an eye on those windows, open and close a few just to see how they're operating. Keep in mind, you can also have windows serviced, which is much, much cheaper than full replacement. So if you have a few that are hard to open and close, that might be the more appropriate solution to the problem. I have worked with buyers whose first question is, how's the air conditioning system, when they walk into a house? And I don't blame them. We have near perfect weather here in West Ventura County, but the few days or couple of weeks each year that we have where it gets really hot, you really want a great AC system that's going to keep you cool. In fact, I actually made a video, I'll put it here and link to it, of course, about the weather here in West Ventura County. So if you want to check that out after you're done watching this video, there's a link for you. As you're looking at properties, get eyes on the condenser unit. It's that big, bulky piece of machinery that's typically on the side of the house. Does it look newer or in good shape? Fantastic. If it looks like it has seen better days, make a mental note of that. If you end up buying this house, just know that you may have to end up replacing it in the very near future. Same goes for the furnace unit. Now, the furnace unit might actually be up in the attic. If that's the case, you're probably going to have to wait for your general inspector to inspect the home when you're in escrow for him to get up there and go get eyes on the unit. But sometimes the furnace unit is in a utility closet in the hallway. Again, just get a set of eyes on it, take a quick peek at it, it doesn't hurt, just so you kind of understand what is going on with the heating and the air systems in the home. If either of these systems are obviously on their last legs, even obvious to lay people like you and I, then maybe we need to consider that when writing the initial offer and deduct the value of a replacement system from how much you're ultimately willing to offer on the house. If you're out touring homes looking for one to buy, pay attention to the walkways and pathways around the house. One sign of potential trouble may be, dark spots or mossy spots on, say, the concrete on the side of the house. That is an indication of water pooling over on that side of the house, and if you don't already know, water is the #1 enemy of a home. This could also be an indication that the drainage system around the home is not adequate. And I know we're in Southern California, but we have had back-to-back really wet winters. If we're getting a storm system every 5 to 10 days in January and February, you want to feel confident that the water is being directed away from your home, away from your foundation, and into the proper channels. Every once in a while, I come across a home with a very comprehensive drainage system, which is great. These homes rarely have issues, but during your due diligence period, it may be a good idea to ask the home seller for a copy of this drainage plan so you can understand how it works and how to properly maintain it in the future. And just for good measure, during your inspection process, ask your general inspector to put a hose down one of the drains just to make sure everything is up to snuff. When you're looking at homes, check to see if there is a sprinkler system and landscape lighting. If the home has several, stunning fruit-bearing trees, but the owner has been hand watering them all these years, that's something you're going to want to know up front. During the inspection process, it is very unlikely that your general inspector will check the irrigation and the landscape lighting. This is generally outside of their scope of work. But that doesn't mean you couldn't ask your gardener or your friend's gardener if you don't have one, or even ask me for my gardener to come over and check those systems for you. A very common find during the inspection process is that the landscape lighting simply just doesn't work. Another one is that sprinkler heads are pointed directly at the side of the house, directly at your stucco. Now, that's terrible for two reasons. Number one, it ruins your stucco, which is very costly to replace. And number two, it's simply just a waste of water. Another thing to look out for are the electrical systems on the property. Look at the light switches, look at the outlets. GFCIs are required in wet areas like your laundry room, like your kitchen. If you're like me and you love old Spanish style homes, over on the avenue or in Midtown, I want to know, how old is that electrical system? I personally haven't seen knob and tube in Ventura, but if you come across a home that somehow still has it, plan for a very expensive rewire. We're simply just using a lot more electricity in our modern lives. So I want to know, is there room on that electrical panel to add more capacity? If you drive an electric vehicle, is there a 240 in the garage? Or should you budget to have an electrician come over and add that after you've closed escrow? Does the garage even have space for you to mount a charger and for you to also get the car parked in there and still move around it and charge it at the same time? Washers, dryers, and refrigerators. If you negotiate with the home seller that you are keeping these items in the purchase of the home, make sure that your general inspector takes the time to look underneath and behind these appliances during the inspection process. They're big, they're heavy, they're cumbersome, but you would be surprised at how often home buyers purchase a home and then a few months later decide, we're going to go ahead and upgrade the washer after all and get a brand new unit, only to find issues underneath or behind those when they go to make that exchange. Also, I see a lot of home sellers taking their chandeliers with them when they sell their home. Light fixtures are attached to the home, and so by default, they're considered part of the property. But that doesn't mean that the home seller won't try to negotiate with you to exclude that from the sale. So a piece of advice as you're touring homes, don't fall in love with any light fixtures until you know for certain what the seller's intentions are with those fixtures. Crime is one of those things that I, as a licensed real estate agent, just can't talk about. But if you have a specific concern about a street or a neighborhood here in the city of Ventura, head over to the city's website and check out their interactive map. Of course, I'll link to it down below in the description too. You can filter this map for specific types of crime or crime over a certain time period. You can also go over to neighborhoodscout.com if you are interested in checking out crime maps in other parts of Ventura County. And here's another great tip. Call the local police station in whatever city it is and ask to speak with the beat officer responsible for patrolling that specific street or neighborhood. The police station is generally going to be pretty happy to connect you directly with that beat officer and ask them this very specific question. Officer, if I were your son or daughter or mother or grandfather, would you be comfortable with me purchasing a home at this address on this street? They are going to give you an honest answer. Before kids, my wife and I were looking at purchasing a home to flip in a not so great part of town, and we used this exact tactic. We spoke with the beat officer responsible for patrolling that street, and he was able to detail every crime, what type of crime, how frequently, occurred in that part of town and on that street. And guess what? We ended up not buying the project. You want to visit a home or a neighborhood on different days and at different times. This may illuminate some potential nuisances in the area. Maybe the next door neighbor is only home on weekends and she has a 3-hour jam session with her bandmates every single Sunday. Maybe the guy across the street idles his Harley Davidson out on the front yard for an hour every single morning starting at 7 a.m. The only way you're going to discover things like this is if you make an effort to drive down the street on random days and at random times. And again, when you see neighbors, make an effort to stop and ask them specifically, are there any nuisances on the street that you should be aware of? Did you know that the city of Ventura has a public records access portal? You can use this portal to look at the history of a specific home and look at what permits the home seller may have pulled over the years. Why would this be helpful? Let's say you go and tour a home, you absolutely love it, but you're a little bit suspicious of the master bedroom and bathroom that the home seller added on to the back of the home. You can use the public records access portal to see if the home seller actually went and pulled permits with the city when they did the addition. And look, a lot of homeowners do work on their homes without pulling permits. Trust me, I totally get that. But if it's something major, like a 400 square foot addition, you're gonna wanna verify that they actually pulled permits, they did things correctly in a safe manner, and maybe you wanna have your own contractor come out during the escrow process and verify a few of those safety related items. The best part is you can access these permit records before you even write an offer on the home. Don't sleep on this tool that's provided by the city. I'll link to it down below. All right, that was a lot of information, but believe it or not, it wasn't even a full list. If you would like a comprehensive list of all the things that you should be looking out for as you're touring homes to purchase, simply send me an email and I'll get it right over to you. My name is Grant Leichtfuss, Ventura resident and realtor. If you have any questions about the local real estate market or community, just give me a shout. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.